Welcome to another episode of Violent Minds. This is Mark Chauppetta, your resident private investigator, and I'm here with my good buddy, Dr. Keith Ablow.
Yeah, our resident psychiatrist, forensic psychiatrist, life coach, consultant. Well, I don't know. I keep morphing, changing, pivoting, reconstructing, but it's good because it's all about narrative. Everything I've ever done is about story, right? Yeah. What's the best story to make of a situation? Or how do we get to the bottom of a story? And there's some stories in the news where you'd really say, man, I want to get to the bottom of that.
Yep, there's a lot going on in the news. It seems to be an interesting time. But aside from this being Violent Minds, I also see the show as this is my weekly therapy session, which is good for me. And, I feel cleansed every time I'm on with you every week for some reason.
Well, that's good. I like that. I mean, I'm very committed to you feeling cleansed and unburdened because there's a lot probably in your mind at any one time. You've got family, you've got your profession, you're delving into stories that require you to do so with great finesse as a private investigator.
Yeah.
I wonder,
I mean,
private investigator.
I love being a private investigator, but lots of times it's hard to be a private investigator because I'm just, full-time parent at times also. So, I mean, I'll be getting text messages from my kids, or I'll be in a conference with an attorney, and I'll be taking messages from my wife, from my sons, from, whoever. I'll have a meeting while I'm waiting at the high school, picking up my youngest son. Last night Max was in acting lessons, and I'm sitting in the parking lot for 2 hours. Like I try not to waste during the day and into the evening when I'm awake. I don't like wasting time. I feel very guilty relaxing. So
you do.
Yes, I feel extremely guilty relaxing and cutting myself a break. So even sitting in the parking lot, and I try to utilize my time the best I can. Sitting in the parking lot of a theater arts school, I'm reviewing police reports, texting clients, because you can work remotely, you can work from your car. I do surveillance for a living, so it's natural for me to be in my vehicle working.
Well, I know, but let's not hop, skip, and jump away from the core issue.
What I said.
I wouldn't be much of a shrink if I didn't ask you. Well, so what is it? What do you feel guilty about? And I'm subject to some of the same things, but you feel guilty if you take time just to be, right? Just to be, whether it's relax, meditate, read, invest in yourself. Feel like you should be what? Is it earning money? What is it?
I mean, I just feel like there's always something that needs to be done. There's not enough time in the day, like especially, I can justify it better. It's like, all right, if we have a natural disaster and I don't have to be out shoveling and all my kids are safe and secure, then maybe if we don't lose power, I can sit down and enjoy maybe some television or whatever, scouring the internet or doing what I do. But if it's the middle of the day and I'm tired and I sit down, my head starts to talk to me and I start to say, you know what? I got to get out in the yard. I got to do the trash. I got to dust. I got to Swiffer. I got to do something just to make myself. My wife thinks I'm fucking nuts. We play this little game every day where I hate the dogs going on our sofas. And
why?
I don't know. It just gets my OCD going. So I
think we're talking about a lot of obsessive thinking here.
So I flip the sofa cushions up every day when I leave in the morning at like 4 a.m. And then when my wife gets up, she puts it back down.
So, maybe you got to take a cue from the dogs. The dogs actually, they are actually living life a little bit in the way that you could at times. You're not gonna. Here's your insurance policy.
Yes.
You've already told me that the chances of you becoming lazy, slovenly, forgetting about work, not doing things are zero.
Yes.
So your actual job is not to make sure that you're constantly at the grindstone.
Mm.
Instead, it's to make sure that you allow your brain some time to decompress.
Mm.
That's what your real agenda is, because you're like an Energizer bunny. You're all wound up. Again, you don't have to worry you're not going to get enough done. You'll always get enough done.
So my wife and I have been having this conundrum lately where where like she likes to watch shows together, but we really don't have a lot in common when it comes. I mean, we'll find a show like maybe Ozark or certain things that are popular, Yellowstone, that we'll watch together, but those go really quickly when you binge watch. And then that leaves time at night. And I try to move her away from the news,
Yeah.
at the end of the night, to not put that nonsense in your head, because it's just not good to go to sleep
Yeah.
with all that stuff. And I'll often find she's like, where are you going? It's like 7 o'clock. I'm like, I'm gonna go up into the bedroom and watch my shows, and I'll see you when you come to bed. And last night, for whatever, and this is what's weird about me, I'll do MMA, I'll work on a homicide case, I'll take care of my disabled children.
Right.
And then last night, my choice of TV viewing, you wouldn't guess it a million fucking years. It wasn't porn.
Not the Flintstones, not Batman.
No, it wasn't the Flintstones. Close though. It was. I was clicking through the channels and I stumbled upon the Muppet Show.
Yes.
From the 70s. And
yeah, you have this need to revisit your innocent childhood. I understand it. Your life is complex. I get it.
So I watched an episode with Rich Little, and he's doing impersonations of Richard Nixon, and and Kermit, Mrs. Piggy were going at it. And my wife comes in the bedroom. She's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? This isn't going to set the tone." I'm like, "What do you mean? Miss Piggy's looking hot. Come on."
Watching the Muppets.
It's
it's a throwback to your youth, to times when you didn't have to worry as much about being so on at all times, getting so much done. I think you're doing that, by the way. It's partly, no doubt, because you feel like there's a lot to do, and you do have a lot to do. But it's partly, I bet, because you have anxiety when you're not doing. The doing is anti-anxiety for you.
Yes.
Right. And so you're like, oh God, I can't really sit here and watch shows with my wife. I can't do it. I'm going out of my mind because I'm just sitting here. And so, yeah, I would say maybe you got to challenge yourself and sort of breathe through those times and think, really, aren't I getting something done now, though?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but there shouldn't be, if that's how I choose to detach from the world, and that programming is out there for people like me and even you, then
the Muppets.
Yeah.
You think it's out there for people like me and you? I would hazard a guess, having been in the TV business as you have for a little while, that there weren't producers sitting around with Jim, whatever his name was, the guy who invented the Muppets, Henson, saying, what we're going to do? We'll say this is for kids.
Yes.
But actually it's for MMA fighters who are private detectives who need some time on their own to revisit childhood. I think people would have been like, new producer, right? So it's an accident, but you want that. It's simpler times. You don't have to think, I guess, so much.
Yes.
And when you were watching, let me just ask you, so you're watching the Muppets.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, if anything?
You know what? I'm just sitting there laughing at the jokes and the humor, and it helps me forget about the reality of my daily life. It's similar. Like lots of times I'll go upstairs, like it's February 14th, 1974, and
right.
And I'll put on, I do it often actually. I'll put on an episode of Johnny Carson, and
right.
And then I have this weird thing that my wife thinks is kind of crazy. And we're going to get into the show, violentminds.com. This is the therapy session at the beginning of our show. My wife finds it very odd when I watch these shows. You know what I do? I have a really weird habit when I watch these old shows. Like say maybe like Buddy Hackett's on the sofa, or Judy Collins, or whoever. I will Google to see if they're alive and to see when they died.
Interesting.
And then I
And-
get sad. And then I get sad. So it's like a very passive aggressive in my brain. It's like
Right.
Yeah, it's weird.
Very interesting. I mean, that you're looking for, well, and look, here's the best evidence that life and death are not as concrete as one might think. After all, you're watching the work of these people.
Yes.
You're laughing. You brought to, some comic relief in your day. It brings you some comic relief. And then you're Googling and you're like, I wonder if they're still alive. The question has been asked and answered by the fact that you're watching them and laughing. Of
Right.
course they're alive.
Well, no, lots of times they're dead.
Well, no, I'm talking in the spirit.
Oh, metaphorically, like, yeah.
Metaphorically, mystically, of course
Yeah.
they're still alive. Their
Yeah,
bodies are
alive in
not
my
here.
heart and my soul and in my inner childhood.
You're watching them, in fact, exactly. And the same will be true for everyone you meet and who survives you, that they will say, this man remains in my heart. So, I think, in fact, your wife, you're getting a lot done. When you're watching a series with your wife,
Yes.
I would think twice when you say, look, I'm gonna go upstairs and do my own thing, because just the investment of watching with your wife is good. And the reason you're doing that, it's anxiety. It's like, I gotta go.
100%, because we're flipping through, and life was much simpler when you had to get up and you only had 10 channels, if that, and now you got 4,000 channels, and you just find yourself. And my wife's like, seriously, like, can we just pick something? I'm like, Janet, we've watched every bad Bruce Willis movie out there. Like, how many more can we find? He's now a C-level actor.
Correct. Except, again, I keep dragging you back. But the truth is, it's not about the episodes or what you've watched. It's just about, you could pick anything at random that she would say, yeah, that's good. What you're really doing is the bonding thing.
You know what she usually says?
Her.
Pick whatever you want. I don't care, babe.
Correct.
And then that gives me anxiety, because then that puts pressure on me to pick a television show. I mean, these are real world problems that couples have when it comes to television shows.
That's true. I'm trying to help you navigate that, because I'll give you the line to say, you know what? I don't care either. I just like hanging out with you. And then she'll be like, wow.
Well, guess how long we've been married?
I'm divorced, so what do I know? But
yeah, I mean, we talked in the last episode. I believe our anniversary is coming up, and it's coming on 7 years. So you know what that means.
That 7-year itch thing.
Yeah, I do have dry skin,
Yeah. Well, I was married like 28. I'm not counting. I forget. But look, I think I always tell people that every marriage that I know of is challenging. You have to know that up front, right?
100%.
Every time, whenever you start sharing a laundry basket, right? Unless you're living at the Pier Hotel and you get 2 dressing rooms and 2 bedrooms, right? Like, unless you're really in the effete level where literally you can create enough space where you have like a new moment every night. You're sharing a laundry basket. The minute you start sharing the laundry basket, the unmentionables, the undergarments, they don't have any mystery anymore. They're not about romance. They're about work.
But that's funny though, because I do have a laundry basket issue. I don't allow my wife to do my laundry. I do it all myself. We don't share. We have our own laundry baskets.
That would be smart if the motivation was to maintain mystery in the relationship. But I fear that the issue is that you're not going to let her do the laundry because she doesn't do it right.
No, well, I think I did her laundry once by accident, and I fucked everything up. I put the whites in with the colors, and so now I have like laundry, like post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Right. Right. Well, I get it. It's still advisable. I would tell couples, and I used to all the time, listen, keep your own laundry separate, because the minute you pile it all together, none of it has any meaning. You don't want your husband or wife dealing with your underwear and throwing it in to wash it as though it's nothing. You want it to remain mystical. You want it to remain a mystery. It should, ideally, again, we're getting into things of the heart and romance just post Valentine's Day, but
Yes.
ideally, you would literally not undress in front of each other except for romance. Because the more you can have these variables isolated and only reserved just for particular dramas, the
Yeah.
more drama there'll be in the relationship.
Yeah, that's why they say, going to bed completely nude, it's kind of anticlimactic. You need to start off with stuff and then take it off, I usually start off with
They say that? They say that, yeah,
I say that.
you say it.
I
Okay,
say it.
you're sort of
But I'm
generalizing.
saying they because I just,
You tend to think in a very, self-focused but expansive way at the same time.
boy, my
they
son
say.
Troy, who edits his podcast, and Andrew, who does the social media there. Well, I don't think they're really learning too much about me. Maybe the intimate side of their father they're learning about. The guy with
Maybe,
the
but
glasses.
also, no, you do present some really closely held things, and that's nice. So a lot of people don't do that because they fear being judged.
Nah.
You will be judged. No, just kidding. But the anxiety is really what you're talking about. You have a lot of pent up anxiety. It keeps you on the move. I think you got to breathe through some of it and just say, it's fine. It's all right.
I did my
I can
jiu-jitsu at 6 this morning. Now it's 6 in the evening, just about. So
You've had a long day. I can tell, by the way.
Can you? Do I seem tense?
Just a little.
Really? Interesting.
Just
The way I'm playing with my glasses.
just a little, not very much so, but just a bit. And here's the thing.
Well, since we're getting kind of like, personal, I'm going to take off a layer of clothes. Don't get excited.
Oh yeah, you too warm?
Yeah. I'm a little warm, so I don't want to get you riled up,
I got it. Yeah, no, that's a nice t-shirt, by the way. But anyhow, so
Here.
what do you think about this Hillary Clinton Spygate scandal?
On that, what a good what a good segue.
Well, not like I have anxiety or anything about moving on, but
the Durham probe. I mean, it seems like there's something there. I know that the media is not giving it proper coverage, like anything else. I think it's something that's earth-shattering. I think John, that what is it, John Durham? From Boston. Durham. He's from Boston.
So.
He's from Boston.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. This could be bigger than Watergate. There's this phony collusion with Russia. There's, it just, I don't know. Why don't you give your 2 cents on it, and then I'll chime in, with what I think. But I think he has something there, and I think there's people that are facing prosecution, and I think these so-called people are starting to talk for fear of being charged.
Probably so.
Starting to open the floodgates. But what do you think?
So I think that they've been at, the whatever you want to call it, the deep state, his adversaries, whatever you want to call it, have never been comfortable with someone walking in sort of like John Wayne out of the, tundra in the West, or from Palm Beach, or from Mar-a-Lago, or wherever, and simply clobbering everyone in debates and emerging victorious, and as the president of the United States, who they haven't had time to groom and who really doesn't play ball in traditional political ways, who may just be laser focused on getting the job done in the right way. So what did they do? I think that they colluded in every possible way for 2 election cycles to try to destroy him.
Started in 2016 when Hillary was trying to take office, and what they did. It was all in the up and up, right? With this tech company. They had a government contract.
Yeah.
But once you start hacking into Trump Towers and you start hacking into the Oval Office, it changes the whole playing field.
That's not on the up and up. And plus they lied to get the warrant to even explore these things. They lied. They used a phony set of documents. They knew that they weren't to be trusted, and yet they convinced a court to issue them the relevant documents to do this exploration, this Spygate exploration. And what they were doing, clearly, to my mind, it speaks for itself. They were attempting to basically plumb the depths of the guy's data life, the underbelly of his existence, inventing things, God knows what, planting things. And they hoped to paint him as like a Russian, essentially, sympathizer, like not an American guy. He's going to sell us out to the Russians. Well, number one, that never happened during the first Trump administration whatsoever. And number two, if Hillary Clinton paid for that, misadventure into the hard drives of Donald Trump and his campaign, that is bigger than Watergate.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's a paper trail. You're dealing with these attorneys, and I think there's a paper trail because they wanted to get paid, and I think the paper trail kind of leads them back, and I think that's where Durham and the whole probe, started. I mean, do you think the DOJ is going to do anything about it, though? That's the question.
Well, they may well, because I don't think John Durham is a fool, and I don't think he's going to end where we are now. I think he'll continue on.
I think it's a tip of the iceberg, though. I think there's much deeper stuff than what they're saying on the right wing media cycles. Yeah,
and Trump, keeps alluding to it, has alluded to it for a long time, that this is the biggest story ever to be told, and that it, dwarfs Watergate and the rest. And you'll remember in that debate, the iconic debate between him and Hillary Clinton, when she said, can we really imagine? I can't really imagine, she said, Donald Trump as president of the United States. And he said, no, because you'd be in jail. Right?
Yeah.
Who knows, the slings and arrows of various kinds of fortune. Here she is making a play for being painted as maybe the heir apparent still to the Democratic nomination. And it may be that long before that, she has to answer for literally funding espionage against an American candidate for president. That would be one of the biggest things we've ever had to cope with as a nation. You mean to say elements within the government and an adversary from another party were spying on a candidate such that they hoped he could not be elected? They were going to deprive the American people of 4 years of Donald Trump.
And spying on him when he was an active sitting president as well, which is just horrendous. It's not really my expertise, and I've been trying to get up to speed with it, and it's very confusing, all this. It's
very confusing. I mean, it's like anybody knows this who has been excluded from a country club. It's almost like it does make you believe, wait a second, is there like a deep state that when you figure your way past them and outside of them to the corner office, they're like, no way, no, you can't discharge the responsibilities of that office because you're not one of us, you're not a puppet. I don't think he's a puppet. That's the problem. And then they stole the election. I mean, I know I don't want to get arrested, but I don't
get arrested for having an opinion.
Well, because it's like, if you spread disinformation now, they're like looking to throttle you, blackball you, not arrest you. But if you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, like on January 6th, if you happened to be in Washington, D.C. during the quote unquote insurrection, and you sent 2 text messages to somebody who was at the Capitol, they might drag you in for questioning. It's a different day in America. It's like David Sinclair told us, right, from Volta, the private phone service. Yeah. It's like, you got to protect your privacy now. So there I was, almost self-censoring, right? Because I was like, whoa, what does it mean to say that she stole the election from, or that the election was stolen from by President Biden? Well, all these rules they changed about, mail-in ballots,
Mm.
where you could have gone to in person, but now you're mailing them in and they're handing them out.
Mm.
That was insanity.
Yeah,
That's not kosher.
like I said, I try to look at both sides of everything, and it still remains to be seen if this goes back to Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration. It seems it. Based on
We'll see.
some of the people that I listen to. Uh, if you listen to the other side, then they just kind of dismiss it without any facts or anything. They just kind of say, "Oh, that isn't true." Uh,
Yeah. Well,
I mean, uh, which blows my mind. But I would hope that if this actually did happen, I don't know. Trump should be vindicated in some respects here. I'm not saying
yeah.
this guy's squeaky clean. Um, by no means,
Well, I don't know. I mean, but the half the population won't give him the benefit of the doubt anyhow, because there are a lot of people out there who will say, "Good, I'm glad they were spying on him. He's a bad apple," right? That's the really dangerous
Right,
contingent in the country, where they'd say, "Well, you're bad,
right.
so you don't enjoy the protections that we're supposed to be afforded by the Constitution. You don't get those and the rule of law because you're a bad guy." And
Yeah.
that's the way they saw him. You're a bad guy.
So where do you see all this going?
I would say, if I had to write the story myself, I would say they're going to throw everything at Donald Trump they possibly can, including tax issues and all manner of things coming out of New York, where
Mhm.
they accuse him of this crime and that crime. And if I were a betting person, I'd say he still ends up as the nominee of the Republican Party and wins the presidency.
And
The
what about Hillary? It seems like her own party doesn't even like her.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. You'd think that if it is proven that she was involved in funding espionage against a rival for the presidency or the president of the United States, that it would be dire for her. And as Trump said, he's a man of few words. He said at a stronger time in this country, it'd be the death penalty,
Right.
right? For what? Sedition or whatever. But I'm not in favor of the death penalty for anybody, but it certainly should be weighed and measured by people looking at it without any political slant, saying, did it happen? John Durham doesn't look like any kind of fibber to me.
But they're
Let's see what he has to say.
but they're suppressing it.
They
So
are, of course.
you see very little on social media if you scroll through. You see there's almost zero time. They actually did a graph
Right.
of all the networks and how much did you see that? And how much
Like
time?
CNN was 3.5 minutes, the rest were 0 minutes or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, so if they're not, unless people from the left side are flipping over to the right side to see what they're saying because they're curious. And I think there's more of that going on now.
Yeah.
You're
I hope so.
the information.
CNN's not watched very much by anyone anymore, so it's.
I mean, this is going to stay suppressed if that's the case. And I think it's just white noise to people at this point.
Well, it'll be a good test of the judicial system to see whether truth still wins.
Yeah, I mean, it worked with Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
So that was a start. So, and this John Durham guy seems like he's a straight up guy, and he just wants to get to the bottom of it. And what does Putin have to say about it?
Yeah, right. Good question. I don't think he's talking necessarily, right? But he has his own stuff going on in Ukraine where they still can't determine whether
Isn't
he's
Biden
going
colluding with
forward.
him more so than Trump was accused of colluding with him?
Well, I mean, the Biden presidency seems to be mired in ties to China aggressively. And so that's interesting because China's now cozied up to Russia. Russia's a bad actor. I'm not, you'd want to make sure that anybody who's currently in power has no fear of any other nation. They said that about Trump. Oh, he can't come forward because he did terrible things in Russia and they've got photos of it. That never was substantiated.
Right. Well,
It could be the case,
they set
however.
him up. That was part of their plan, to set up Trump and to help build their case against him. So
I'm a big fan. I mean, anybody who, when challenged by the media and who say he has small hands, as I've said to many people, anybody who can be in a debate and hold up his hands and say, now they're hitting me on my hands. They're hitting my hands, which is a New York thing. They're hitting my hands. They're saying because these are small, something else is small. I got no problem in that department.
right.
It's like Freud was doing cartwheels. Like, whoa, who is this guy who's willing to talk about his private parts during a presidential debate? It's astounding.
It's not the length, it's not the size, it's how many times you can make it rise.
You're always quick with limerick. Yes.
Well, it remains to be seen, what's going to happen. It just, for someone like me, I'm not a huge political junkie. I'm starting to get into it more with the Violet Minds podcast, violetminds.com. You can watch us and you can watch Keith. You might get more enjoyment out of Keith analyzing me than you do me attempting to talk politics. There's certain things I can talk about. I try to do my research, but I like talking about me.
Well, right. But I know that you have, certain opinions and that's good, so you just, let's look for the truth.
I have you know what? I have concerns and I try to be an objective person. I don't have opinions strongly one way or another when it comes to certain things. All I know is that the things that I hear, I try to process in my head to see if it makes sense. I try to be an objective person. I try to look at both sides of everything. And it seems as if government is too much in our lives right now. And it seems as if government isn't making the right choices. Now, call me ignorant. My youngest son tends to, and he's 16, and I don't know if it's an age thing, but he's really into the environment, and he's smarter than me. So I have a hard time debating him because he's just, he's in school, he's learning, so sometimes I struggle. And, he likes to talk about the environment. And when it comes down to, gas prices and fuel, and the pipelines closing down, and us being being dependent on other countries for our energy when we could just have it here. And that seems to be some of the problem that we have when it comes to the Russia and the Ukraine, right? If I'm correct.
Sure, absolutely.
So like those type of things, like I try to be a practical person. Now, I'm not a scientist, I'm not an environmentalist, but in my small-minded brain, I think to myself, well, I'm 53 years old soon. And I remember a time when you would throw trash out the window, when emissions were gross.
I know.
Like, to me, it seems as if we're doing much better at least in the US. I know there's a lot of countries that are still pretty disgusting and don't have the standards that I think we're doing a great job when it comes to the environment, or better, I should say, when it comes to the
ingenuity is the answer. Like, we will figure out how to clean things up at the point that they need to be cleaned up. There are already a lot of technologies being developed to take carbon out of the air, et cetera, right? And so I believe that human ingenuity can help us a lot. I also believe there's a massive force underway toward world government, to dissolving national boundaries, to installing a regime, essentially an intelligentsia modeled on the Chinese kind of system, wherein people don't express their thoughts and feelings freely because that's not the important thing. Like
Right.
in those societies, it's legit thought, well, why would you think that you should speak your mind? Like there's a bigger issue here, the
Yeah.
state.
Right. I
You
mean,
can't,
and again, not to go back, but I know that the environment is important. We want to save the environment for generations to come. But it also seems that they're using
well,
it.
then people shouldn't eat meat.
Yeah, right. It also seems that the government, our current government, is using
Yeah.
it I guess in a what's the
Divisive,
divisive
destructive
way,
manner.
destructive way, and not the right way. So these are the things that my small-minded, lack of political knowledge brain, common sense brain looks at things, and to me, it's like, why don't we get natural resources here? Why do we get rid of all this here in this country? And have to
Well,
rely on other countries, because it comes down to money and power and who owes who what.
and because if there's one, that's why Trump was Trump. He said America first. He was an anti-globalist. He said, look, it's better for you guys. You guys take care of your countries.
Yeah.
You should care the most about your countries. This was like, but when he said that was like throwing the gauntlet down to people who want one world government.
Right.
Right. Because he was basically saying, hey, we're going to be as strong as we need to be. We'll make everything we need right here. That is like declaring war on the globalists,
Right.
who say, no, you already have too much in America. Divest yourself of that. Join the great morass of men on the planet and let people run things in an unelected, perhaps, way, where they're installed for long periods of time, and where a handful of families who are incredibly rich and powerful remain so.
Right.
And the rest of us,
Yeah.
can eat, maybe.
It just seems, from a common sense, dumbed down point of view, or the lens that I look through, it just seems as if things aren't that great. And
why are you so self-effacing, calm and dumbed down?
I don't know.
I'm gonna lift you up.
I'm using adjectives. It's an adjective day.
Yes, but you tend to not give yourself credit for being as intelligent as you are, resourceful, and you think through things. How could you be a private detective if you can't get to the bottom of things? Of course you can.
Yes. Oh, I can get to the bottom of a lot of things when it comes to what my niche is. The political world is something that I'm starting to. It's something I always avoided and didn't really enjoy as a hobby. But now, because of violentminds.com, my relationship with you, the way the world is nowadays, my wife's obsession with Fox News, like it's all kind of forcing me to look at look at things differently than I used to look at things. And I don't know, maybe I'll learn something through the Muppets. I don't know.
I think things are changing. I think if you had asked people widely in America, do you think that organizations like the FBI, the CIA, et cetera, and perhaps even presidential campaigns, do you think that they spy on average Americans, that they collect information? Right now we know, of course they do. Now we know. It was shocking. I mean, we should be shocked out of our minds.
Didn't I see something in the news? I heard something on the news today that TD Bank can't. Did you hear that?
I didn't hear that. What's that?
They canceled someone's accounts or did something. Maybe
okay. Why?
Because of their affiliation with with Canada.
Oh, that's interesting.
There's money. There's money, digital currency. So it seems as if they're trying to. I think eventually what they want to do is get rid of money, and keep everything digital so they can control it all.
Sure, absolutely, and
that's what it seems like.
It does seem that way, and there's no question. And the other thing is, like Bank of America, for instance, when they were asked by the FBI without a warrant, give them the banking information of folks who were of interest to them related to January 6th, the uprising, the Capitol protest, whatever you want to call it, they said, sure, here you go. What? Here you go.
A warrant.
What? How about a warrant?
Right. There's a process.
They didn't need that. They just requested it. They were given it.
They felt like they were doing their service to America. When there's certain ways that you're supposed to go about things to protect the integrity of this country.
Like privacy, right? And same thing with
Yes.
mobile carriers who will surrender all your data because they're asked to.
I picked up a case today. I'm not going to get too much into detail. One of my cases.
No, please tell us the whole thing.
One of my cases I was reviewing today. One of the crimes that my client committed was sending pictures of his private parts through Snapchat.
To whom?
To the complaining witness, the victim.
And what that is, so it was uninvited.
Uninvited
Naked pictures to an adult?
No, to a minor.
Oh, okay, got it. I was trying to figure out what's the crime.
Not too much difference in age, but still legally a minor.
Yeah.
And
that's interesting. Not too much difference in age.
So I just mentioned it to my son. I said, look, do me a favor. Don't ever send pictures of your junk through Snapchat. And he's like, well, Dad, that disappears after after you send it, because that's what Snapchat does. I don't use Snapchat. I need to do some research on it, but it apparently disappears. Although people do take screenshots of things before it disappears.
But I think you're told that that's happening if they do it. But so what? It's too late at that point.
That doesn't necessarily mean that data and that information isn't still there. Nothing ever disappears. It's there.
Right. That's absolutely true.
And you can get it. So that, and that's what I was trying to explain to my son. Just, I know you're not going to do that stuff, but be careful when, if in a situation like that. But I don't know why I went on that road, but
I think the privacy issue, the companies just turn over data. Obviously, if you're interacting with a minor in ways that are not right, then that's a separate issue. But I always have wondered, by the way, there is this specific line between quote being an adult and quote being not an adult.
Yes.
And you alluded to the fact that they're not so far apart in age. And those are, it feels like it should be a dicier situation than what it is. Like, I get it. There's got to be some cutoff.
Yeah.
But if you're like, I don't know, if you're like 20, if you're like 18, if you're 18 and the other person is 15, that's a crime, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but it's all the development in your brain, and I'm 8 years older than my wife, and
yet much less developed.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah,
right. So, I mean, you're upstairs watching the Muppets. You should be charged with crimes, right? Because
I wasn't pleasuring myself to the Muppets.
I know, but she's coming upstairs. There you are. A collector of various trinkets from your childhood,
right?
Superhero figures and the rest, watching the Muppets. And she says, honey, you should have set the mood better. It's like, you want to go to jail? I'm here watching the Muppets and you're talking sex with me.
Yeah, I mean, Gonzo had a big nose,
I mean, it's interesting. No, but I have wondered that. Like, what about an immature 18-year-old and a very mature 15-year-old? Right. Is that something to go to jail over? I don't know.
I mean, in the eyes of the law, it's depending on what the crime is, whether it's statutory rape or whatever it is. But I mean, back to like. Law. Yeah, back to people recognizing things. I was saying earlier that the left seems to kind of be out. Well, one would think, of the way it's been, they've been kind of in the cold when it comes to in the dark with what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
All right. So
Well,
maybe they don't see things through the news, but I think they're starting to see things in their everyday life, which if you have half a brain, I don't think there's any way to justify what's, going on or not going on in the world. And one example is I just went grocery shopping yesterday and I've never seen the shelf so bare in my life. I filled up 2 of my vehicles today and it was $125.
yeah.
These are the things that even the most liberal left-handed person should be saying to themselves, something doesn't add up here. It wasn't like this before.
Doesn't add up. I mean, it's bizarre, really, when you get when they tell you how much things are at the register. It's bizarre. It's like, okay, Diet Coke, I'll have this Diet Coke and this bag of chips. All right, that's $7.50. I'm like, what?
Right? It's
like,
crazy.
It's like, maybe you shouldn't buy anything. There is that movement to buy almost nothing. There's like some sort of a groundswell of people who are like, look, we're not going to buy basically anything.
I saw in the news on social media today that, and I'm going to start going to this restaurant, the 99 Restaurants, which is a chain.
I like 99 restaurants. Yeah.
Chain here in the Northeast. I don't know if they're anywhere other than New England, but apparently they're going to start getting all their potatoes from, I guess, from local farmers in Maine.
Nice.
So they can, help them, which.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty, it's not huge, but if everyone contributes.
No, it's nice. I think it's great. I mean, dealing locally is nice. I think that's better. It shows an investment in the community. Makes all the sense in the world. And that's why America First makes all the sense in the world, because you know what? It's very easy to my mind, for the left to say, no, you got to help the people over there. Fair enough.
That's another thing that's always bothered me my whole life is that, and everyone says it, and you just need to have common sense. Like, why don't we take care of our people? Why are there so many homeless? Why are there so many mentally ill people? Why do we see in the news that we have to help this country and we have to do this for that country and we have to do this? Is that because we owe them because for some financial reason and we're not taking care of our own people? And I think that's the stuff like people like me just get fed up with, and everyday Americans, that just walking in my car today out of my office, I had 2 homeless people walk up to me, and then,
wow,
and I try to keep it's weird when it comes to, I try to gauge the type of homeless people that are out there, if I'm going to help them or not help them. Meaning there's I guess homeless people from before, if they were maybe a veteran that wasn't getting help, as opposed to someone that's extremely addicted to drugs.
So what you're saying is that you do an extensive interview before giving someone $1.
Well, no, I'll give him $1 if I'll give.
I'm only kidding. I'm joking.
I'd rather give him a hamburger than $1, honestly.
I had a great experience.
Yeah.
Can I tell you about my great experience? I was in Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Okay. And a guy comes in and he says, listen, I don't have the money for coffee.
Yep.
So I do the kind of assessment that you were talking about, a quick kind of look at it. He arrived on a bicycle. It's like, okay.
He's got $150 sneakers on.
So I hand him whatever, $5 or whatever it was. And on the way out, don't you know, after he got his coffee, he stops at my seat and he hands me the change.
That's awesome.
He says, here's your change, right?
Right.
Here's your change.
I would have handed him a 20 at that point and been like, here.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's amazing. And the guy that he was walking up to a bunch of different people. And then he walked up to me and I don't have any cash on me. I was rolling out of there. And then I have meters in front of my office. And then I saw him go meter to meter to meter. And he was doing something in the meters with his hands, or I don't know if he had a little tool or something, because then I saw his hand going into his pocket like he was putting change in there. And he was obviously getting money out of the meters. And I just thought to myself, good for you.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm not calling the cops because I
get money out of meters. Do you get money? There's a way to get money out of meters.
I don't know. I saw him I saw her from through my rearview mirror going in the somehow manipulating the meters and actually then putting his hand in his pocket. So it looked like he was putting change in his pocket. So
Maybe you were like having some sort of delusional
no,
experience.
no, it's not. I wasn't.
He's like a meter whisperer.
He might have been like he might have like yeah. Maybe he has
He has like a technique
some sort of a technique. Yeah,
involving
like a cheat,
touching the meter in a particular way.
like a meter cheat code or something.
A meter cheat coders.
Yeah,
Sure.
knew how to get the change out of there. And I'm like, well, if you knew how to do that, I was thinking to myself, then why are you asking me for change? Because it's a crime.
Right. Yeah, I know. I just wish he were with us as a guest so he could tell us whether in fact he was just like looking for the extra quarter he had put in that didn't register 15 minutes.
Problem
And
is
he was
these
like,
people
"Where
don't
is
have
that quarter?"
computers and
Yeah.
access to Zoom. You know,
Yeah.
you know, there's a great episode of
Yeah.
no,
Muppet.
no, even worse.
Flintstone.
There's an episode of Leave It to Beaver.
Oh God, I knew we were going there. Yeah.
Where
Great
June
episode of Leave It to Beaver. Yeah.
when June and Ward leave and go out and they leave Wally and the Beeve home. It was one of the first times they let him stay home unsupervised. And a homeless person, you know, came to the door. So, and I think earlier before the Ward left, he lectured Beaver about doing something good for people. But Beaver didn't really understand the difference between doing something good and, you know, helping out, as they called back on that show, a bum. That's what they were called on the, you know, in those days.
Yeah.
And he let him in, let him take a bath. He took one of Ward's suits.
Yeah. There you go. Well, I've always thought that there should be, you know, that if you had a team, you could probably reclaim a lot of lives if you happened upon folks. And I know how hard it is. I know mental illness is so difficult to defeat, except in my hands, of course, but nonetheless, for others, for other clinicians. But I wonder if you had a team and you said, well, let one person a week. Let's have the team focus on one homeless person a week. This means clothing, psychiatry, coaching about occupation, putting the person back in touch with his family. I suspect you could reclaim a lot of lives.
Reality show right there in the making, Dr. Keith.
Yeah, I want to call it Salvation. There's a Salvation Army right down the street from my office. Yeah. And it always has beckoned to me where I thought
Salvation Army has a great program. And I know a lot of attorneys that I work with over the years will work out plea deals on certain cases and get them committed to the Salvation Army program for a certain number of weeks.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, something that was being used here in the city for a while, and it was working effectively. But I don't know, times are just it's you have to kind of shut yourself off from the realities of the world, or else it'll eat you up.
Yeah.
Like I drive around the city that I work in at times, and I just sit and drive around, and I just get moments of like depression because I just remember driving around the same city 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And I don't know if it's because I'm older, I'm wiser, and I'm more corrupted from my job and the type of cases that I deal with.
As a private investigator,
yeah, as an investigator, that I'm just a little much more sensitive to it now. It bothers me a lot when I'm driving around. I have a hard time being happy when I'm driving around on a warm summer day because I just look around and I just see the devastation and the homelessness and the people walking around that are displaced, and it just, I don't know. It just seems like more can be done.
Oh, more could be done. Are you kidding me? So much more could be done. It just takes a strategic initiative that's far-reaching and multidisciplinary, and it can be done.
I internalize that shit though, man, like crazy, where some people just don't give a fuck. They're just focused on their world and their fancy car and going back to their leafy suburban town. Well, I go back to my leafy little suburban town and my cute little house with my wife, but I also
That's
have the
quite
flip side.
palatial. Yes.
You know,
Palatial.
I'm not in an office. I'm out in the street. I see this shit. It just
Yeah.
bothers
I
me.
told you were having a hard day. Did I tell you were having a hard day?
I'm not
did,
saying
and
that
you were
happened
like, "What, do I
today.
seem uptight?" We end the hour with you saying, "My whole world is collapsing." Look, I even moved my camera. My whole world is I got overly excited. My whole world is collapsing. Though you said the world's sort of, falling apart. What the heck is going on? You know what the truth is?
Yeah.
In the end, the truth always wins. In the end, decency outdoes evil, and the good guys always win.
I hope so. You know what? I still hold doors for people. I still try, do good things for
Yeah.
people.
By the way, when you do that, don't rip them off the hinges. Holding the door
No,
means just hold it open.
I
But
always hold doors. I love
you don't
holding,
know your own strength,
and I like making small talk with people. I really love, that's one of my favorite things to do.
obviously.
Making small talk with strangers, and because it could be one word or one sentence
Yeah.
or 5-minute engagement that could
Okay.
change someone's life. You don't know what's going through a stranger's head.
Just messing with my camera. No, you don't know what's going through someone's. No, you don't. And by the way, I
Yes.
always tell myself that, like, I used to be somebody who might engage in, arguments about traffic or this or that. You know what I always tell myself now? I don't know that guy's story. I
Yeah.
have no idea what he's struggling with or she's struggling with. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, if you peel back one or two layers from a person's surface existence, you get to some pretty tough stuff.
Mm,
And then you can't hate them anymore.
I know. I have a hard time hating people. You know what? On that note, violentminds.com. Check out Dr. Keith Ablow.
And Mark Chauppetta, yes.
And Mark Chauppetta. If you need a private, if you need,
If you
need a
need
private,
an investigator.
if you need a private investigator, and if you have a shoulder for me to cry on, I'm the man to hire.
Exactly. Or if you need a life coach, you call me. I will coach you through the tough times. Because I'll tell you, we ended in the right place. These things that challenge you, they are meant to make you stronger every single time.
On that note, I thank you. You know the drill. You hold on. I'm going to put my glasses on, end the show. And everyone, you have a wonderful evening. Take care, everyone.